Lance Meadow with you here on GoColumbiaLions.com. Non-conference play is over. It's Ivy League football from here on out as we prepare for homecoming. Columbia hosts Penn on Saturday to help set the stage. We're joined, as always, by interim head coach Mark Fabish. And, Coach, let's start with the excellent performance by the defense in the last win over Marist. You look at the archives, you, as a program, have not had this many shutouts in a season since 1972. Haven't had back-to-back home shutouts since you got to go back to the early 1950s. So that alone says a lot, and it's hard on any level of football, as you can attest to post multiple shutouts. How much has this fueled the defense? It's one thing to want to stop the offense, but to completely keep them off the board.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a testament to the hard work that goes into each and every game, and the way that our staff prepares our guys, but ultimately their ability to go out and execute. It just was fun to watch. Come Sunday, when we had a chance to evaluate the film, that they just kept playing, and they weren't in great situations throughout. You know, had a couple short fields that they really had to defend, and I know after the game was talking with you that, you know, it was awesome for them to be able to finish it the way they did. Marist had a first and goal on the 10, and had 4 cracks at it, and the defense closed the door before we ultimately were able to go out and get into victory formation. And so for it to finish the way that it did really was an exclamation point on an awesome effort across the board. And I know in the press conference after we had Aaron Brebner there, but it could have been any one of any of the starting 11 sitting with us and just giving their thoughts on it. But it's just it's a byproduct of all the hard work that goes into it, starting with Coach Stovall and his staff on the defensive side, Coach Rice, Coach West, Coach Cookish, and Coach Malcolm. They do a great job, and the guys are prepared, but now we have to do it again. You know, we have to go out and just play hard.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up the field position, because I think if you look at the box score and you watch this game, you'd say if an offense turns the ball over 3 times, you may not like your chances of finishing the game, but the defense gets 4 takeaways, so you were actually +1 in that department. And Marist had, as you were alluding to, 4 possessions that started in Columbia territory in the second half. How much were those opportunistic plays, which haven't necessarily come in high volume, so critical in the last game? Yeah,
I think it was a combination of everything. But really what it boiled down to was when a play needed to get made, they made it. And that's something that, you know, we can build off of. But ultimately you have to do it, and each play is its own separate entity, and the exciting part was when it had to happen, they came through. And again, we finished with that one drive where it ended on the 10, but 2 turnovers came on possessions that started in plus territory for Marist, and so didn't come down to as dramatic a situation as how the game ended, but just more abruptly. But we'll take it any way that we can get it.
Absolutely. You don't get style points or brownie points. All that matters is the W, as you can attest to. I want to flip the script to the offensive side of the ball, because the run game has been very strong, specifically here at home. And you have Joey Georgie, you got Tyson Edwards, you got Malcolm Terry. I would say against Princeton, Terry stepped up. Against Marist, it was Edwards who ran the show. How much of a luxury has it been that you've tested the depth chart and those guys have come through?
Well, there's some wear and tear that goes into playing running back for sure, and so it's not a position that you can have one guy carry the load, so to speak. And so having the depth goes a long way when you start getting into a season that goes 10 straight weeks without a bye, and we're going to need all 3 moving forward, and all 3 prepare each week as the starter. And Tyson ended up having his first career 100-yard games, got into the end zone a couple times, and that in conjunction with the efforts that he makes on special teams is just an awesome thing for the entire program. And so that in conjunction with how the defense is playing, it's a positive, and I think that's what leads to the outcome that we got. You know, it's always the destination is achieving a win, but it's how you get there, and what Tyson did in combination with the defense and special teams was how we came away with the win.
It's always nice when your punter gives you a 71-yard punt and a friendly roll as well. We'll go by Downtown Billy Hughes.
Yes,
Mark Fabish has correctly labeled him. Oh, trust me, I will do it from the broadcast booth. I will do the heavy lifting for you, I promise. I will not hesitate. So 3 non-conference games in the books. It's all Ivy League play from here on out. We're pretty much approaching the midway point, game 5. How would you best assess your team right now in terms of what you liked and what you want to see now improve moving forward here?
Yeah, it's not hard to say what I like. I like and love how much they care about each other, how they prepare, and how hard they play. Those things, for any coach, just make you proud that they're buying in, and regardless of the score, regardless of the opponent, they're going to give everything that they have, and that is all any coach can ask for. And they've answered that call in spades. I mean, it's just has been, practice is fun because they take it upon themselves to put that effort out there every day, and that's what shows up on Saturdays. We need to continue to progress. And build off of what we've been able to do on the defensive side, continue to force some turnovers. That was a huge part of being able to slam the door on Marist. The special teams, our specialists are doing some really nice things, specifically Carter McFadden and Downtown Billy Hughes. Hugo Mary's coming along, having been a college football player for 4 games. And then on offense, building off the run game and hopefully allowing the run game to set up some explosive plays in the pass game. But as long as we play hard, I think it gives us a shot. It gives us a shot regardless of the opponent. And this week we get to line up against Penn, and excited to welcome those guys to New York and put it all to the test.
Well, let's jump into this opponent, the Quakers. They're 3-1. They're coming off back-to-back overtime affairs, and they had a common opponent beating Georgetown in the last game. We know this was a team that aired it out in the meeting last year. Fortunately, some turnovers came back to bite you. What jumps out to you about this Penn team that is coming into your backyard this weekend? Yeah,
the biggest thing is how well coached they are. They do a great job scheme-wise on both sides and on special teams. They've got some really talented players. Quarterback is experienced now. I think this is going to be his 20th start, and he's still got potentially 15 more. So I mean, he is despite being relatively young, he's a junior. He's very experienced, and has had a great amount of success. They went 8-2 last year. They're 3-1. I mean, that's whatever, do quick math, 11-3 their last 14 games, and so that success breeds success, and so he's the guy driving that train. Defensively, they're stout and physical. The corner, number 4, is a special talent. They had an outstanding game against us last year, and so we're going to have our hands full for sure. But again, play hard. Who cares about who gets the credit? Give everything you have for the guy next to you. It gives you a shot.
The one thing that jumps out to me about your defense, and we've talked about the stellar performances, specifically the execution in the red zone. And you have the #1 red zone defense in the nation. When you're going up against a Penn team that spreads the wealth, utilizes various running backs and wide receivers, how much is it going to be key for the guys to operate in those tight spaces depending on how the drives play out?
Well, I think regardless of the opponent, this week happens to be Penn, and they pose some challenges with their scheme, like I said, and how well coached they are. But it's 11 playing as one, as always, and they're going to force us to be disciplined and trust. Like we always do, the other, one individual trusting the other 10 to do their job, and no one trying to do more than what's asked of them, but really isolating on what is asked of them. As long as that's the case, like I said, we'll be in position to hopefully stop whatever pitches that they're going to throw at us.
Well, I can't not address your past history with Penn before this conversation wraps up. You played there. You were a colleague of Ray Priori, their head coach. He was an assistant when you were a player. We brought this up when Al Bagnoli was the head man. You've been a long-time assistant. There's a million different connections.
Sure.
From an emotional standpoint, how much of anything does that play a role in your approach to this game?
I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it was a unique scenario, but distance or time has created some distance from those memories and those relationships. And while we still have friendships with Coach Priori and some guys on the staff that had not only coached me, but that I had the opportunity to work with and share offices with, our focus is on the task at hand, and that task just happens to be Penn this week. A really good Penn team, and so if I take the focus off of that, then we won't be as prepared as we probably would be. And so we do the best that we can to get our guys ready to go. Our team could care less where I went to college. Our team could care less on where I worked before this. We've been here now for 8 years, 7 seasons. It focuses on getting us ready to go.
Well, we may have to work your highlight reel into a broadcast or something. Maybe then they'll think about perhaps what your college resume looked like. Well, Coach, hopefully Mother Nature cooperates. It's always a pleasure going back and forth with you here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Lance. Appreciate it.
Interim head coach Mark Fabish with us. It's homecoming. It's Columbia hosting Penn Saturday. Kickoff 1:30 p.m. Eastern. You can watch the game on ESPN Plus as well as SNY.